What is going on, everybody? Well, the noon games are done. 3:30 games are at half. Some surprising events. Not so surprising. Pitt beats North Carolina. And shout out to Tar Heel Huddle. I like Tar Heel Huddle, but they're still trying to cope with the fact that Jeff Collins just isn't any good. Now, it's masked a little bit by the fact that their offense also isn't very good. In other words, their team isn't very good. But it was surprising that game was tied 17-17 at half. But Pitt ends up winning that game. But it was close. You know, it was close until the end. If you're a North Carolina fan, you probably feel somewhat good about that you didn't get blown out like you did against James Madison. And boy, they're down. I'll tell you how down they are. They're in Russ's chat talking about leaving the ACC for the SEC or something. Buddy, you'll be 300 if you go to the SEC. You think, like, you haven't won the conference in 40 years. You think you're going to go win the SEC in the next 5? You're not going to go to a bowl the next 5 years to go to the SEC. I mean, the problem isn't the conference. And that's what we're seeing with these teams. You know, you're struggling in the ACC and you're not very good. So like Florida State, you think the solution is to get out of the conference. Again, the problem isn't the conference. The problem is you. You're the problem. We all know what the problem is, don't we? Get rid of them. Everyone else will follow in line. Anyways, Missouri gets the absolute life beat out of them by Texas A&M. So it turns out all those struggle wins they had against teams like Vandy. Speaking of Vandy, they're beating Alabama right now by 2 scores in the second quarter, I think. Has Vandy ever had a lead against Alabama? Man, I don't know. You might have to go back to like the 40s or something. Boy, Georgia fans got to be pissed about that. They get beat by Bama over there in Tuscaloosa, and Bama's losing to Vandy. Boy, Vandy Dandy has a big old boner right now, doesn't he? Boston College loses to Virginia, man. Virginia looking much better this year. You know, Tony Elliott probably had the hottest seat coming into this season, and I think he's got 1 loss right now. I mean, shout out to Wahoo Brad and the Cavaliers there, having a pretty good season for them. Louisville. Now, I do ACC power rankings every Monday. Check that out every Monday. They're pretty good. But I guess there was a Louisville fan in the comments like, hey, you're not giving us the respect we deserve, man. We got the best roster in the ACC, man. I said, incorrect. No, you don't. You don't have the best roster. You're saying you have the most talented roster in the ACC? That's probably Miami and then Clemson. And then, thanks to you and Pitt struggling with an awful North Carolina team, who's the 3rd best team in the ACC? Nobody knows, really. It's clearly Clemson and Miami. Louisville got beat worse than probably what the score will show by SMU. Now, admittedly, I didn't watch much of that game, but SMU was way up there in the first half. SMU is their first year in the conference. Louisville all of a sudden thinking they own it because they went to the conference title last year with, Jeff Brom in his first year. And look, this isn't just sour grapes for me. And maybe the reason why this Louisville fan thought I wasn't giving them the respect they deserve, Georgia Tech's defense held them to 19. Now, we got outplayed, we got outcoached, we got out-schemed in that game, but I didn't see anything from Louisville, aside from that wide receiver, number 1 for them, that made me think that they were clearly like the 2nd or 3rd best team in the conference, and that got exposed today. So I think Georgia is 14-3 with Auburn at the half. Let me think through these games really quickly. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Last thing we'll talk about, Georgia Tech Duke. Now, they haven't played. They play tonight at 8. And Papa Rec, I'm going to ride with him. I'm going back to my place now. Big game for Georgia Tech. Look, I don't understand people trashing Haynes King. Honestly, I feel like if you're trashing Haynes King, you're a little bit football ignorant. The problem isn't Haynes King, and even with the play calling, like I get that we probably need to throw it more, but we won't make a bowl if we can't run the ball. Like tonight against Duke, we better have 150 yards rushing. Now Duke has a good defense. The strength of their defense is pass defense. They struggle a little bit more with run defense, just looking at rankings. So this is the game where Georgia Tech really should be able to run the ball, though, teams like Syracuse and Louisville. I mean, you think about Georgia Tech, we get beat by these teams. We cope and try and tell ourselves, well, they're going to win the ACC, and both those teams lose their next games. In fact, Louisville loses their next two. How sad, Louisville. Don't ever come in my comment section again saying you have the best roster. You catch 2 straight losses in a row. Well, Rick, Georgia Tech has 2 straight ACC losses. Yeah, and you don't see me saying they're the best team in the conference either. Even after we beat Florida State, I literally said Florida State might not be that good. Boy, I look like a genius now. But Georgia Tech's going to have to run the ball. Duke comes in undefeated, look, and if we're not prepared, we'll get beat by them. Now, Georgia Tech should win this game. I think Georgia Tech's the more talented team. But look, Manny Diaz knows defense. So it's going to be interesting to see. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you tonight.